friends, it's Mr. Alex from Adams Memorial Library, and today we're going to be making a special craft, painting our handprint. Let me show you what you'll need. Before we begin our craft today, I wanted to share some of the history and culture behind it with you all. The handprint painting we are making is inspired by the dot painting method used by Australia's native Aboriginal artists. For the Aboriginal people, painting started as a way to pass on important history and spiritual beliefs, since they didn't use a formal written language at that time. They would tell these stories and bits of information by painting on rock, sand, or on their bodies. Then, in the 1970s, Aboriginal artists began to dot paint on more permanent surfaces, such as wood and canvas, and recorded their culture that way. While the artists still tend to carefully safeguard the spiritual meaning of their works from outsiders, the dot paintings can be an important source of income for many of the remote indigenous communities. So, for those of us who are not part of the Aboriginal community, we aren't able to create true dot paintings. We just don't have the cultural or spiritual knowledge needed to create one. However, we can take inspiration from these wonderful artists and create a new craft project of our own. Since today's craft does involve paint, the first thing that we're going to want to do before we get ready is to set down some sort of drop cloth or plastic so that we can paint and not get our table too dirty. Once we have that set up, we're going to need a few materials. We're going to need some paint in 3 different colors, and I've already taken and poured mine out onto a plate, but yours will probably come in a cup in your kit. I have a paintbrush, I have my construction paper, a sharpened pencil, an unsharpened pencil that we're going to use as a paint dauber, and some sort of napkin or paper towel to wipe off our unsharpened pencil in between colors. All right, let's get started. So to begin our handprint craft, we are first going to need to have our handprint on our construction paper. Now, if you like, you could paint the bottom of your hand and lay your hand down and make a handprint that way. Or if you're like me and don't want to get too messy during this craft, you can trace your handprint and fill that in with paint. So I'm going to go ahead and trace my hand. And once I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out, and that looks good, I'm going to go ahead and fill this in with one of my colors of paint. So let's go ahead and do that. So once we've finished painting our handprint and filled it in, making sure to smooth out any parts that have a lot of paint on them and filling in all the white spaces, we are ready to move on to our dots. So to create our dot effect, we are going to use our pencil, our unsharpened one, just like a paint dauber. We're going to take the eraser end and dip it in the paint. And then in between colors, since these pencils are fairly new and the erasers haven't been used yet, we can just take our paper towel, wipe off the pencil, and start on a new color. There's no specific style or pattern that you need to use for this. I tend to use one color for each of the rings around the hand, but you can do it in any way that you would like. So let's go ahead and get started. So once we've finished adding our dots, and you can add as many or as few rows of dots in any pattern that you'd like. I just chose to, once again, make some rings around the handprint in each of the different colors that I had. But you can choose to do anything that you'd like. But once you're satisfied and complete with your art, you are just going to set this aside, let it dry, and your artwork will be all finished. I want to thank you all for joining me today and making some awesome art. Make sure you're keeping tabs on our Facebook page for Adams Memorial Library and our website at adamslib.org for more library events. Happy crafting!